Well, it is a gray day in Halifax, but nothing could dampen the spirit of the players set to make history or the fans eager to take it all in. Women's professional soccer hits Atlantic Canada for the very first time as Erin McLeod and the Halifax Tides make their Northern Super League debut against Michaela Moore and the Calgary Wild. Well, come on in, everybody, and join us. Welcome to our new digs. This is the NSL on TSN, brought to you by BMO. I'm Kate McKenna. She is panelist, analyst, former Team Canada captain, Hall of Famer. What can't she do? This is my new pal, Amy Walsh.
I can't stand properly on the steps, but I'm working on it.
You're looking great, buddy. You're looking great. And listen, it's a big night for soccer in Atlantic Canada. I know you've talked to the coaches, you've seen the roster, you've heard from the fans. What are you looking forward to seeing tonight?
You said it. It's a massive night. I mean, it's been a week of first. We're into week 2, but this is, I think, Lewis Page and the Halifax Tides maybe getting a leg up on the Calgary Wild because they've seen them in action. So they may have that wild card a little bit, but on the opposite side of the coin is you have Calgary, who's had a chance to get out the jitters and get out the nerves a little bit. So we'll see how it all plays out. But for Atlantic Canada, for the Maritimes, it means you have an accessible, tangible, vibrant pathway to pro that is now in Halifax, which is so exciting. My sister-in-law, Mary Beth Bowie, was an integral part of getting this club off the ground. I have 2 nieces, Annie and Kaya, who play soccer there, so it means for them, they will have a pathway, but it also means for 4 Nova Scotians on this team tonight, and 2 starters in Kennedy and Miller, that they can play in their own province professional soccer, so that's outstanding.
It is pretty remarkable, and Lewis Page has talked about prioritizing the growth of homegrown talent, but he also has some international talent at his disposal, players with international experience, including goalkeeper Erin McLeod, and she's standing by with Brianne Foley for the WestJet Pitchside Chat.
Erin, you've been waiting for this moment for what seems like your entire life. Walking in today to the stadium, how did it feel?
A little bit surreal, to be honest. It's been a very emotional week. I'm so grateful. I spoke with my mindfulness coach yesterday, and she's like, what's going to be in your heart during the game? And I just said, just gratefulness. Like, I can't believe, like, the locker room set up. They even have one for our little guy, and there's just even like the gift bags and the thoughtfulness that's gone behind this, and just the opportunity for all of these players to be able to shine. Some of it in their own backyard, some, internationals, but it's honestly just a privilege.
And so going into the game like this, dealing with those emotions, but also focusing on the match, how do you make sure the girls stay focused for the game?
We couldn't like make more than 2 passes yesterday in training, so hopefully we do it a little bit better today, but I think that's the reality. I think when you have any new leagues, I think everyone's going to have a number of games where they're going to feel nervous, and if you look at our team, most of our players have not played professionally. They're incredible professional players, but have not played at that level yet. So I think, a lot of it will be effort and mindset and sticking together. And do I think this will be the best game we have all season? No, but we know this is a beginning.
Amazing. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Listen, we've seen nerves factor into both those first and second games this season, including the opening match between Vancouver and Calgary. And speaking of which, earlier today, Brianne Foley caught up with Calgary co-captain Michaela Moore.
Michaela, you already have a game under your belt, a second game on the road. How do you use this to your advantage going against the Halifax team that hasn't played yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting the first one out of the way, despite the result, is good for us. We've been able to reflect and take learnings from that. And then, we're ready to go today.
And looking for that first goal for Calgary Wild, what do you do in order to enforce that going into this match?
I think just continue what we've been working on. Like, we've had a good preseason and we've had some good results with good goals coming out of our build. So just, taking learnings from last week and hopefully putting them into practice today.
Amazing. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, fans are in the stands. They are eagerly awaiting the start of this match. And after this, Nigel Reid and Amy Walsh will bring you first half action from Halifax. Gloria
Greetings from the magnificent Maritimes, where we're all ready to jump on board and set sail with the Halifax Tides and their first ever game in the Northern Super League. Nigel Reid in the booth alongside Canada Soccer Hall of Famer Amy Walsh. Welcome you to the Wanderers grounds in Halifax, where the Tides kick off their NSL journey against the Calgary Wild. The visitors have gone coast to coast for this one. The Wild opened their campaign with a narrow loss in Vancouver. Now their aim is to spoil the party down east. Chance to glance at the starting lineups for these two teams. Starting lineups are brought to you by DoorDash. First ever starting 11 for the Tides. And of note, it is an all-Canadian strike force of Sid Kennedy, Sarah Lamilla, and up top, Christopher Laduro. The anchor in midfield, the veteran Icelandic midfielder, Gunni Jónsdóttir. And what can you say about Erin McLeod, Amy? She's been there, she's done it. There's nothing left except this exciting chapter in her career.
Well, we all thought she would be involved in some capacity. Didn't necessarily know it was going to be as a player. And featuring now Between the Sticks with her wife, who has just recently welcomed their first son. So it's great to see. This is also what this league is all about, but two very key, talented, high-class players for the Halifax Tides.
4-3-3 formation for the Tides. You see Erin McLeod just greeting some friends and foes as we get ready. And we look at the Calgary Wild lineup, brought to you by DoorDash. There are a couple of changes from coach Lydia Bedford following that opening defeat in midfield. Young 17-year-old Tegan Stewart will start on the left-hand side alongside Jackie Savitsky, and then up front, Sarita Thurton gets her first start alongside Sarah Griffiths and the Australian Kylie Johnson.
Yeah, Sarita Thurton and her partnership that you can see developing with Jackie Savitsky was perfect for, I think, exactly what Calgary needed to edge their way into that match, to get into it, to press a little bit higher, to get some good spells of possession. And I think Sonia makes way for the youngster in Stewart, looking for a little bit more energy in the middle of the park.
Lydia Bedford, there she is, was pretty bullish when we were talking to her this week about the build-up to this game. Despite that loss in Vancouver, she said that her team created enough chances to get at least something out of that game, but of course, you've got to be clinical in front of goal.
You do, and to me it looked like their timing was slightly off. I mean, you could see their intent, you could see that they wanted to play with purpose, but it was missing a little bit of execution, especially in the final third, but cohesion all over the pitch, Nigel.
History in Halifax as the Tides, which will inevitably ebb and flow, attempts to tame the Wild of Calgary. It is in the cyan and purple kits. Halifax Tides, who will attack the goal to your right in this first half against the Calgary Wild, who had time to consider what went right and what didn't go quite right in that opening game against the Vancouver Rise. Both teams starting with a 4-3-3 formation. And Micah Rolsema gets it into touch on that far side.
I think a chance too for Calgary, what they'll need to do is find their footing early and connect and get a good first touch, get a good pass, get a good tackle, whatever it is that needs to get you engaged in the match. They need to do that as individuals, but also collectively, so that instantly they're able to impose themselves on the match.
Plenty of excitement, of course, leading up to this game. They've been talking about it all week, well, for weeks, to be honest, in Halifax. The weather hasn't exactly cooperated, Amy. It's cloudy. It's officially 7 Celsius. There's rain in the air, but there's a stiff southeasterly wind coming in off the ocean. Apparently it feels like 2 Celsius, so bundle up, but they are here and they have come in their thousands, and isn't that good to see?
It is, but Nigel, despite all those climate issues or challenges with the weather, it's an air of optimism because this is professional women's soccer in Halifax at Wanderers grounds, one of the best places to kick a ball in Canada. So pleased to see it happening here, and as I mentioned in the pregame, you have a tangible and accessible pathway to pro for maritime players and maritime young women.
Free kick for the Wild. Maggie Doherty-Howard along the floor into the box, looking to retain possession. There's possibilities on that far side, and within the space of 2 minutes, The Wild have scored, and Michaela Moore, I think, is receiving the congratulations. The perfect start. There were two players free at the far post. They weren't picked up, and the Wilds take full advantage to lead in Halifax by a 0-0.
One of the other things you saw over the course of week one in the Northern Super League were either poorly executed free kicks or set pieces, or ones that didn't quite come off. And here you see one executed to perfection with Stewart, that ball to the second post, and Moore is all over that all day long, is going to win it, and there's no doubt about it that she puts that in the back of the net. The New Zealand international, I mean, that is the experience you want on the ball there, well designed straight off the training pitch, and there they go, 1-0 up exactly as they planned it.
Lightning start for the Wild, just the way they planned it last night. And Michaela Moore scores the first ever goal in Wild history, and more than makes up for her error in that game against Vancouver Rise, where she conceded the penalty, which led to the winning goal.
Yeah, you never want to do that when you're a defender, to give that up so that you concede a goal off the ensuing penalty, but you also never want a defender to get by you. So if I'm in her shoes, I'm also taking down Holly Ward. But you know, you never want that to happen, and that is exactly how the scoreline went. So redeems herself today.
Chance at the other end, early corner for Sid Kennedy. She was about to curl it in left-footed. The referee wants a word. A little bit of jostling in the 6-yard area. Marie-Soleil Baudouin, vastly experienced referee, who these days makes her home in the Halifax area. With the whistle. Lost by the goalkeeper, scrambled clear. And they keep the pressure going. And they tried to see it out. In the end, the referee says it will be a goal kick. A little bit of uncertainty from Stephanie Bukovic.
Yeah, Bukovic, we know, we've seen, and we know that she's really technically adept and is going to be integral to their build-out out of the back and their build-up play, but really self-assured back there, but a little bit hesitant to come out to claim, and obviously I think physically not as imposing compared to some of the other players on the pitch who were jockeying for position there and could have won that ball.
Came out in traffic, tried to get something on it. In fairness, she did. But you know the first rule of goalkeeping, if you're going to come, you've got to get something firm on it and just get it out of the danger zone.
Absolutely, clear the danger.
So promising response. That was there to be won. As the Tides make their way forward. Mr. Belladuro was trying to make her presence felt. Here's Cheryl Miller. Feeding it for Eva Frimo, the French fullback. It's wide again, and this time just wide. Should have been the equaliser. And once again, Bukovic, somewhat uncertain. Juicy rebound. They couldn't equalize.
Eva Frimo with a wonderful teasing ball in that Bukovic is forced to come to try to parry out of danger, but instead it drops to the feet of Nakamura and would want to get over that a little bit more. Just hit it with some pace. Nigel kind of tries to place it, but it curls too far away from that left-handed post.
Promising response after that uncertain start, that early setback for the Tides. It's going to be a while till this game settles down and finds its true rhythm. Calgary have that early goal. Here's Sarah Griffiths on loan from the Chicago Stars, feeding it up the line to the Australian Carly Johnson. To the edge of the area, first time shot. And McLeod saw that coming all the way from Jackie Savitsky.
We saw a crunching tackle in the middle of the park earlier on by Jan de Steer, and I mean, that is the type of energy and impact that she is going to bring in there. But Savitsky, who grew into that game for Calgary last week, is looking to impose herself on the match as well.
Well, the referee has blown her whistle, and this is something, it's a new rule. And what's happened is that Erin McLeod simply held on to the ball too long. And the new regulation is that if that is the case and it's counted down to the goalkeeper, then the opposition team is awarded a corner kick, and that's exactly what has happened in this case. New league, new rule. Here comes the corner. Across the face of goal. Doherty Howard trying the shot. And it's got in. And Doherty Howard, it got through a forest of legs and the Wild skipper has given Calgary a dream start. They're 2 up inside 7 minutes.
There's so much to unpack there from that delay of game called on Erin McLeod, which anybody who's a Canadian Women's National Team fan is having flashbacks to that 2012 Olympics, but that catches a couple of players on its way in. But Doherty Howard, we know, left-footed or right-footed. Yeah, Duro initially on that kick takes a little bit of a nick, changes the direction. I don't know if Erin McLeod was ever going to get her eyes on that to spot it and to get there for the save, but a couple of unfortunate events, one after the other, that lead to all of a sudden them being down 2-0.
Certainly took a slight defection off Addie Wickers, the American central defender, on its way in, but it fooled everybody, including Erin McLeod. All the experience in the world, but within 10 minutes she's had to pick the ball out of the net twice.
Not going to like that last one at all, Nigel, has to be said, but a corner kick for delay of game is better than an indirect free kick in the box. I think I enjoy that rule change, but I'd have to go back and watch, because to me it didn't seem like that was 8 seconds. But if you're going to, you know, really apply a rule, then you're going to stick to it and you're going to be a stickler about it, then I guess no better way to do it and to make an example of someone, and that's exactly what the referee did of Erin McLeod.
Very sturdy on that far side, playing right back, wearing number 2, young Calgarian, 23 years of age. Well, it's certainly quietened down the party atmosphere.
Well, you're gonna have
the Wanderers grounds.
You're going to have to do more to quiet down the fans at Wanderers ground than just to be down 2-0. This is a passionate legion of fans that are going to show up, good times and bad, and certainly it's a celebration today. Their home opener for the Northern Super League and their own Halifax Tides, and it's early days yet. You know, not even at the 10-minute mark. There's lots of soccer to be played.
This is sort of the same position from which Maggie Doherty Howard set up the first goal. She's going long again. This time it floats over everybody's head, and a chance for Halifax and the Tides to make their way forward into opposition territory. This is Sarah Miller on the charge, but it's cut out by Savitsky, who decides to take the responsibility. May have turned it over here. Got some help from Grace Stordy. Trying to get away from Cristabella Duro. And down the line it goes to, in the end, all the way back to Erin McLeod. So a lively opening 10 minutes at the Wanderers grounds. Game 3 of the Northern Super League. First ever game in the history of the Halifax Tides. Up against the Calgary Wild, who were a little annoyed that they lost that opening game. As I mentioned off the top, their head coach Lydia Bedford talking this week about her players' ability, how much they created in that opening game at BC Place Stadium. The fact that it didn't yield to a goal, well, I'm sure all those worries and concerns offensively have been wiped out in the first 10 minutes in the Maritimes.
Yeah, it does a lot to give her comfort that they're doing the right things in their preparation, that they have the class and the quality. They just were failing to convert, because there was an element to that game against Vancouver, and she might be feeling hard done by, but the Vancouver Rise deserve full credit for dominating that contest, in my opinion. Tactical adjustments in the second half saw a livelier, more competitive, more dangerous Calgary Wild team emerge, and that's exactly where they've left off today.
Made it a presence to Stordy, who is making her way forward. There was the offside, and indeed the flag goes up. The foot race, but in the end, the striker was just the wrong side of the last defender, and he's getting a word from the referee.
I'm sure there was a friendly word from Erin McLeod there as well. That was a little bit unnecessary after the whistle.
Sarah Griffiths getting a mini lecture from Marie-Soleil Baudouin. But we see it time and time again. Nothing unusual in the professional game. Here is Eva Fremont. You just create a little bit of time and space for herself, cushions it back for McLeod. She clears up towards halfway. Duro was trying to get herself involved again.
the dynamic's a little bit interesting. We talked about it again in the pregame, Nigel, and also some of the calls that we had with the coaches in match day -1, that maybe there was a slight advantage you could give to Halifax because they had the benefit of that extra week and they got a chance to watch Calgary. They got a chance to assess, see their tendencies, whereas they remained a relative unknown. But I think you're seeing here that advantage clearly wiped out, and you're seeing a little bit of nerves, and you're seeing a little bit of disjointedness from Halifax, where, you know, certainly on that back line, on that first goal, lack of communication from McLeod to her defenders, but certainly more finding a seam between those defenders to nod that ball in, but it was beautifully served up to her as well.
I mean, nerves have got to play a part, haven't they? Erin McLeod was talking half-jokingly before the game that they couldn't string 2 passes together in practice yesterday, and they need to settle down. They need to believe in the system and that they have the right players in the right places on the field to compete in this league, albeit day 1 for the Tides.
Yeah, and they're doing it right here. You're seeing Calgary apply a little bit more of a higher press, not kind of all out, really high tempo, really energetic, but they're positioning themselves higher up the pitch so that they're pressuring the Halifax Tides in their build-up, but they put together a good spell of possession there, and that does a lot too to the team to give you some confidence and to just stay calm and to say, listen, we've got a lot of this game left now. We stick to our guns, we stick to our plan, and maybe slight more urgency, but we still have a lot of time to play.
Cushion back to her goalkeeper by Micah Rolfstummer. The centre back, but stolen again. Sarah Miller, seeing plenty of her and her pace. Can she get a decent cross across? And in the end, it is cut out by the goal scorer Moore at the expense of a corner.
Yeah, Miller does well to turn the corner there and to fire that in. And a bit of a clumsy challenge on Green, and the Tides take full advantage, go the other way, and then that ball that was swung in by Miller, it's one of those ones, the player you know well enough that you put your body in the way, you put your head in the way, but sometimes you don't head the ball, sometimes the ball heads you. And this is one of those occasions where she might need a minute to compose herself.
23-year-old, seasoned New Zealand international, Michaela Moore. Happily, Green is to her feet, so no lasting damage as far as Ali Green is concerned. Also represents New Zealand, although was born and raised in Sydney, Australia. Moore is, well, just in case there is any suggestion of a head injury, the referee obliged to stop the game and let the medical staff do their work. Moore may need some running repairs here.
Good away kit as well for the Calgary Wild. Saw it drop on socials earlier this week, but Hummel has done an excellent job, I think, to outfit these teams in the Northern Super League. Looks great on you when you can score that goal, too.
Lydia Bedford pacing the touchline inside her technical area. So temporarily 10 against 11 while we await the return of Moore. Tides with the temporary player advantage. And Kennedy will swing this in the left foot as well towards the near post. Almost squeaked its way through. Eventually it's cleared out, and Moore says, can they come back? Referee invites her back on the field.
It's always tough there when you're, saw that in the Women's FA Cup, where you got a player who's injured, has to come out because of a head injury, and you're forced to defend a set piece, a player down, which is always challenging. But a good service again, the in-swinger from Kennedy on that corner for the Tides. And if I'm Kennedy, I'm firing it right at the top of the six to give Bukovic some fits again and try to get some players around her.
She's looked a little uncertain on those set pieces, but the scoreline is the one that matters. And Kai Norkus across, the left back from California. Again, pumped into the area, and Erin McLeod needed to deal with that. That was dropping under her crossbar, and she had to just flick it over for another corner. Routine save, but had to be done professionally.
Yep, absolutely takes care of it, but that's certain again, picking up right where she left off, that second half in Vancouver at BC Place, where you saw some things emerging with she and Savitsky, and there that was just a really clever, simple ball by Stewart, back to her, and immediately fires that in. A little bit too lofted, probably, but is enough to give Erin McLeod a little bit of problems and force to put it out for a corner.
So Rolfsema has gone across to take it. Shapes to swing it in, left-footed, plenty of air underneath it. It's a dangerous cross. Referee's whistle has gone. Foul on McLeod. Although she made the save, it will be a free kick for the home team inside their own 6.
Erin McLeod doing enough there. You got players around her, a couple of wild players looking to threaten, but again, just that ball before from Thurton that's floating in. McLeod parries it out and away, and then again that save, she gets the foul called against her, but she's touching the ball with certainty. That goes a long way for your confidence as well.
A lot of good stuff happening down the right flank for the Calgary Wild in the opening 15, 16 minutes or so, and they've earned themselves another corner on that far side.
That's something that he did well in the opening game, is in the channels, in the wide areas. They were keen to take on, I think. You also saw Vancouver cause their backline fit with the likes of Holly Ward. But it's something here that is, I think, playing to their strength, create overloads in the wide areas and then swing that ball into that back post.
Crowded penalty area. And Rolfsema saw plenty of air underneath towards the back post a moment ago. Will it be a similar delivery? It is. This time, just too much curl on it. Just caroms off the roof of the net and behind harmlessly. Just eases the pressure for the Halifax Tides as they try to gain a foothold in this game. Having conceded those 2 early goals from Michaela Moore and Georgie Howard inside the first 10 minutes of the contest.
You're seeing Calgary capitalize on the opportunities that they've been given, which is what they failed to do in their opening match. So the gaffer and Lydia Bedford will be very pleased with that, but I think so far you've seen the pushback from Halifax. So I think you keep at it. I think you'd like to see a little bit more combination play, a little bit more involvement from your midfield, from the likes of Nakamura, from Yunda Steer, and from Gay, because right now it's been entirely in the wide areas and in the channels.
Again, Calgary comfortable in possession. All the way back to the goal scorer, Michaela Moore, who appears to be none the worse for that tumble and that header a few moments ago. It's going to be a Calgary ball, despite the protests on that far side. Back for Moore it goes. Square for Rolfsema, her central defensive partner. Dutch and New Zealand central defensive partnership. Ali Green at left back. Given away, but only momentarily. Green nips in quickly again. And cushion back for Bukovic. I've been watching videos of Stephanie Bukovic most of the morning, actually. She's quite a lot more than just a goalkeeper, isn't she?
Oh, yes.
Go and find her once the game is over. If you've got nothing better to do this evening, just Google her and watch her freestyling techniques. She's quite skilled, to put it mildly.
Well, it gives you or sheds light on her, like she's in goal and she's very undeterred. She's not going to get kind of upset on the ball. She's not going to cough it up.
Right.
That's part of it.
Sarah Griffiths tries the shot straight into the midriff of Erin McLeod on the other end of the field. But yes, Stephanie Bukovic has quite a number of tools in her tool bag. She's perfectly comfortable and occasionally will give coaches nightmares when she tries to dribble her way out. You know what they say about goalkeepers. But she certainly has the close control. She actually has occasionally played out, I'm told, even though she is a professional goalkeeper.
She has done.
Yeah, I believe so.
She told the story in club where she started as a second keeper, was in between the sticks, got called on as a striker, scored 2 goals to tie it, and then proceeded in penalties to score the winner or to score the goal and then to save the next one, which allowed them to win the game. Just an incredible resume.
And a Croatian international to boot, so Stephanie Bukovic has quite the story to tell. Jonas-Dottir certainly felt that challenge. Halifax captain remains on the deck for the time being.
Doherty trying to just get her body in there to push off the ball, and then second player in there gets pushed into her. And they both come up a little bit worse for wear.
Doherty, just her momentum took her into the Tide's captain. No intention on the part of the Wild fullback. Moore lofts the free kick forward. Looking again on that far side for Thurton. Trying to find a way around Norcus. Possibilities here for the press from Halifax Tide. Oduro leading that charge to try and keep Calgary hemmed in their own end of the field. Helped by Nakamura. But they played their way out comfortably, and here is the youngster Tegan Stewart, just 17 years of age. Not quite the accuracy in the pass she was looking for.
But right back in on the counter press to win the ball back for Calgary.
Johnson, and the Australian is floored by Fremo.
I think Johnson looking to cut inside, and she's been looking to do that a lot, and you even see in the build-up with Green in the channel or in the wide areas, Johnson's pulling inside to try to free up a lane there for her.
So another free kick in a potentially dangerous situation for the Wild. Green is certainly standing over it alongside her captain, Doherty Howard. We've seen her deliver a couple from the other side of the field. So Green and Doherty Howard just discussing their options.
And kind of a mirrored location from that first goal where they played it in short. And then you had that ball that was floated into the second post where you had numbers for Calgary. So do they have the audacity to try it again?
Also making her way forward, and it looks like Michaela Moore, who's been a little bit in the wars, may have a problem with her contact lenses.
And that cross from Kennedy kind of scrambled the brains, but also dislodged the contact lens.
Well, she's back on the field and ready for more. Makes her way up towards the edge of the penalty area, having scored that opening goal. First ever for Calgary Wild. It will be the skipper, Doherty Howard, to deliver. This time a right-footed curler, looking for in and around the penalty spot. Early reaction, two went for it. They haven't cleared it yet. There are still possibilities here. And then the shot comes in. It is a third goal inside 25 minutes. And it's Michaela Moore again, I think, who's receiving the congratulations. And it's a dream start for the Wild. And Erin McLeod is beaten again in front of the Halifax faithful. And the Wild lead in the Maritimes by 3-0.
That was, I think, a shot from distance from Johnson that maybe did glance off of Moore, but that ball is swung in by Doherty Howard. Moore is the target all day, and then a little bit of a miscommunication. You've got numbers if you're Halifax Tides, but you fail to clear. And then that's Johnson who just gets on the end of it. Griffith, who keeps it active and involved in that box. And then Johnson makes no mistake. There's no challenge on that shot by the Halifax Tide. So, you know, you might see the intent, the energy of them wanting to get back into this match, but in their own 18, it's been nightmares so far for the Halifax Tides.
Again, they had chances to clear the danger from the free kick. They've been done a couple of times from those set pieces. Needs that composure to either play their way out, or if necessary, just to bang it out, clear that initial danger. And once again, Halifax Tides were left wanting. Chances here, perhaps, plenty in the box. Gone behind for a corner. It has.
that's better. And immediately you show a response. You get in behind. Lewis Page was talking about how much Cristobal Aduro likes to get in behind, likes to exploit that space, weaponized by Kennedy, who's staying a little bit wide. And you get that ball that's threaded through. So here they are with an opportunity here in a corner.
Moore barking out the instructions to her defenders. John's got here, delivers towards the back post. The header came in, but they couldn't keep it down. And behind it goes for a goal kick for the Calgary Wild.
But at this point, if you're the Halifax Tides, you're Aaron McLeod, you're Gunny Youngest here in the middle of that park. You're trying to keep everybody calm. You're trying to say, listen, this is how we want to play. That type of pass is what we want to see more of, and let's try to build on it. Let's try to replicate those moments. Let's try to forget about the goals that we've conceded, but let's get ourselves back into this match.
That's what they're attempting to do. Kennedy kept it in play, pokes it down the line, but it's easy enough for Story, who finds more. A little cushioned pass forward again for Sarita Thurton. Back towards the edge of the area, thinking about the shot again. Savitsky, Thurton cushions it towards the back post. This time it's a comfortable catch for Erin McLeod. But unfortunately not the best clearance, only as far as Ali Green.
Didn't catch that right at all.
Clearly the nerves are playing a part, even for Erin McLeod. And few players in world soccer have as much experience as she does in all sorts of situations.
You're seeing the Halifax Tides as well. There's a reticence, there's a willingness from the midfielders to almost want to cope with the attack and the duress that they're under from the attack and collapse too much on the back line.
Thurton on the right-hand side, trying to play it back in time for Griffiths. Getting involved is young Tegan Stewart. Thurton with Story on the overlap. Again, it bounces harmlessly on the roof of the net. But it has been a command performance so far from the Calgary Wild. Whatever the home fans were hoping for or expected to see, Calgary have come with a mission in mind to spoil the party, and so far they're doing just that.
They have done 2 games on the road where maybe you're looking to do things slightly differently than you will when you have your own home opener. Same identity, same philosophy, but you might make a couple of tweaks. And they didn't have the intel on Halifax, but I think really early on you get that opportunity with the set piece. You kind of smell a weakness, you sense a vulnerability, and they've done that. So not only on the set pieces, Nigel, but then also in the run of play, they're testing them out. And not only Aaron McLeod, but that back line, because they've been unable to clear danger when they're tested with those long balls.
Thurton was hoping for a foul, didn't get one. Knocked on by Aduro, but nobody in particular. Moore tidies up at the back for the Wild. Or Vukovic. Moore again round the corner. Savitsky, and away goes Story again. Eager to make those runs into opposition territory. He turned it over again there. In the end, helped out of play.
Touch for Nakamura there. We haven't called her name a lot, or you hasn't really been on the ball, but I think that's credit not only with the pressure that Calgary has put the Tides under, but the midfield has been precise. They've been able to execute, but this ball for the Halifax Tides has been on for Kennedy.
Miller for Kennedy, the 2 Canadians combining. Kennedy into the box. Can she provide the service? Did she get a push? Will it be a corner? That's all they're going to get out of it. I mean, there's definitely a willingness in the Halifax Tides rank. They want to put a smile on the faces of the fans. Exemplified there by Sid Kennedy. But in the end, it did ricochet off the thigh of Michaela Moore and away for another corner for the home team. And Scotty delivers towards the penalty spot, but again, the header is wide. We've seen that a couple of times, and Vukovic is not called into action.
Yeah, you've seen Fremo be the target from
Yep.
Kennedy on those set pieces on a couple of occasions, but it's come off in a similar manner where it hasn't really threatened. You're looking maybe to be a little bit closer to the second post on that, and then the ball coming back across goal.
Vukovic, we talked about her footballing skills.
Also brimming with confidence and ice in her veins, Nigel.
Well, I was about to tell you about the curse of the commentator there. Just as you're complimenting players on their foot skills, they knock it straight out of play. It is a windy day in Halifax, let's not forget that. Not a beautiful, balmy summer's day down east. Kennedy trying to get round and turn the corner, doesn't win the corner this time. Tim Kennedy from Fletcher's Lake, Nova Scotia, just up the road from downtown Halifax, up near the airport. What a thrill for her family and friends, who I'm sure are cheering her on in the stands. Rolls them up. Rehearsed defensive moves. And Green trying to thread it up the line. She'll get a second chance. Got her feet taken away there. It will be a free kick.
And well broken up by Fremo, but then just lack of communication between she and Gay doesn't allow them to capitalize on it. And well out of trouble there for Green. Left a stud on her there, but I think you're seeing Calgary in the build-up, the confidence of a Vukovic to be on the ball, to be confident and self-assured no matter what side the ball is on. But you're seeing a wit in what they're creating as they're building out, and that's creating pockets of space for the likes of Stewart to move the ball around right to Savitsky.
Savitsky feeds Thurton, menacing again down that right-hand flank, looking for the right pass, prepared to bide her time. Brings in her captain, Doherty Howard. Patient possession from the Wild. Goodness, they know they're in control of the game. They lead by 3, 11 minutes to half-time. And when you're in a position like that, of course, you earn the right to dictate the pace of the game. Hands up for offside. That flag was never coming up on that far side. Moore again, who scored the first goal. Just the second minute of the contest.
And if I'm Calgary, I'm staying on that right side. You talk about the success they've had down that channel, Nigel, and you see Storty inching up. She's pinning the likes of Norcas back, so you don't get Halifax when they're winning the ability to get players higher up the pitch. But you stay there because you're creating the overload there with Thurton. You're seeing Moore, head on a swivel, is able to get them that ball, so they're able to exploit the space down that side.
Referee tells Eva Fremo to retreat a couple of yards before she takes the throw. Not much room to work in. It may work in terms of the Tides. Nakamura now on the left-hand side. There's the first shot on target from Sid Kennedy, which actually needed a save worthy of its name from Vukovic.
Just chomping at the bit, Kennedy was. Just couldn't wait to get that ball from Nakamura, and she kind of pulls off the defender. And every time she receives the ball, whether it comes off or not, there's an eagerness, there's a willingness to take on, and she's going to continue to do that. And you saw Storty struggle with Holly Ward in that first contest in Vancouver. I think you've seen her win most of those duels today.
Play on, says the referee. Tides will do that all day. Nakamura trying to find some space and time to turn. Not the most convincing clearance, and an untidy challenge. The Tides captain on shot here.
And Stewart. That first ball that comes in, you had a Duro who was set up. And if that comes to feet, there's maybe something interesting that comes of it. Comes to a Calgary player. Yeah, and Young Justier just comes through the back of Stewart. But again, you're almost in the opponent's 18-yard box. If you're going to have a challenge that looks like that, come clattering through a player, send a message, that's the spot in the field that you do it.
Green waits, turns the favor to Dutch centre-back, Savitsky, getting back to get involved, and spreads it to that far side. More for Storty. has that confidence to stride forward, Grace Doherty. Here she goes again. Sturton again just ahead of her. Trying to come back for Doherty Howard. Still Doherty. Looking for Sturton. Read this time by the Tide's back line. And then the long-range shot from Doherty Howard clears the crossbar by 2 or 3 feet. Does not trouble Erin McLeod.
Here you're seeing Doherty Howard try again there. That's her left foot from distance, and she will try that. So you have to be wary of that if you're the Tides. But there's some positional issues with the Tides right now that are a little bit worrisome in the middle of the park.
Here come the Wild again. Looking to press home their advantage. They're in a terrific position. From a Halifax point of view, the Tides really cannot afford to concede again before half-time. Green on the left-hand flank this time. Fremo is first to it. There's been an offside flag as well. Will be a free kick to the home team.
That run has been on there by, I believe it was Griffith, just finding that seam there between Fremo and Olai. Kind of that blind run in behind the fullback. But the positional issues that I was talking about before, Nigel, you've conceded 3, so you understandably want to help out your back line, but you're collapsing on them, and then you're giving the opponent's midfield a lot more time on the ball. And you've got Savitsky, who's running things from deeper in that midfield, freeing up Doherty Howard, but also Tegan Stewart, who's joining the attack almost in the front line as another option. That's giving all of the Tides back line fits right now.
First yellow card of the contest goes to the Halifax Tides captain, Johnny Jonsdottir. A couple of clumsy challenges, and she can't really complain about the referee going to her notebook. And another threatening free kick.
There'd be a bit of frustration as well there for Jonsdottir.
You think?
Yes, 100%. It's got to come out somehow.
Doherty Howard again, captain of the visiting Wild. Coming off the training pitch, inviting the run from Green. Initially kept it in, but it was just a little too strong. And behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, you saw that ball, the run over it, just the decoy, and then that pass into the space, that was available to them. You also had Stewart, who was posted up just on the edge of the 18. That would have looked like the first goal that they scored, where it came back out and then went second post. Lots of options, though, for the Calgary Wild right now, showing some real variety in their attack.
Challenge on Jonsdottir this time goes the other way, and earns a free kick for the veteran Icelander. Swedish centre-back Sarah Olai, looking right, going as far as Green, and then trying to turn is the Australian Johnson. Comes together with Monica Gay. The free kick to the visitors. 5 minutes to go before half-time. It has been a lively, entertaining first half. I think it's pretty important from a Halifax point of view. I mean, talking about game-changing moments and morale-changing moments, and what it might mean if they could get a goal, just get a foothold in this before half-time.
That's right. You saw glimmers. You've seen a couple of balls in behind for Kennedy.
Nakamura, beg your pardon, Amy?
No, sorry, Nigel, for Kennedy on the left. They've had success. They're getting in behind another time for a Duro. But they've been few and far between when they've really threatened. But you do say, Kennedy swinging those balls in on the corners. If they can attack and they can win something there, that's a possibility as well.
Down the line it goes. A chance for Kennedy to stretch her legs, pushing back to Vukovic. Duro was diving in, trying to prevent the progress of the ball, but unsuccessfully.
Really calm again, composed by Vukovic.
Stewart. And Green. Dorothy Howard. And Ultima for Michaela Moore. Sure we will see her goal again at half-time. Added to by Dorothy Howard and Tali Johnson after 25 minutes. There's Johnson again, trying to set up Griffith. Savitsky. Sure she'd like to get further forward, but she has to do what the coach has asked her to do. More of a defensive midfield role for Savitsky today.
Playing extremely well has been a key cog for them in there. So I was going to say earlier, Nigel, that for Lydia Bedford, the two substitutions, two rotations, the changes that she's made to her 11 compared to that inaugural match, it looked like a masterstroke. Thurton comes in for Gray, and you have Sonia who makes way for Stewart. And it's done everything to liven up the midfield, to keep things ticking, and they're really dictating terms to the Halifax Tide.
Couple of minutes to the interval on a cold, blustery day in the Maritimes. That's control from Ali Green. Runs into trouble, Gay in the way. Johnson trying to keep it going. All was there to be won. Eventually had to play for the foes of the Tides, just inside Calgary half of the field. Well, right on halfway as it turns out. Eva Fremo. Down the line it goes. Let it play again. It'll be another Halifax ball. They gain themselves 10 or 12 yards. Fremo looking for a willing recipient. The top of Gee. Stewart was trying to take it away, but Olai had other ideas. Nakamura and Kennedy gives space on that far side. Three in the box waiting for Mumdum Oduro. So there is Olai, who's kept her run going into the box. Good battling, great battle from Grace Storey.
Well won by Storey.
Just use of physicality and that will to win mentality to battle herself into possession. She's had a very notable first half. Grace Storey charging forward, helping the attack, but also doing the day job of defending at right back.
Yeah, she's been up and down that flank, but has really come out the winner in that matchup with Kennedy, because the space that the Tides have found has been on that left-hand side when they're attacking, and, you know, pitting Storey up against Kennedy, and Kennedy wants to keep it on her left, wants to go to the byline, and Storey has been able to control her thus far.
Minimum of 4 minutes to add at the end of this first half. You'll remember we did have that lengthy stoppage for that injury to Michaela Moore.
All right, fans, the fourth official has indicated that there will be a minimum
Nakamura.
of 4 minutes added of
Throw
time
way back
in the
inside,
attack.
as with so many Japanese players. Technically very proficient, Nakamura. Referee blows her whistle in favor of Calgary Wild as the boos ring around the Wanderers' grounds.
Little moment to compose herself there for Kennedy, who clearly did not agree with that call.
Her and 5,000 of her best friends.
That's right. Hometown kid.
So Kennedy getting a little talking to, along with Krista Billadura, and the message is pretty clear, isn't it, from Maricelo Baudouin? Just calm it down. Let me referee the game. Well, let's try that one again with the ball. It'll be Michaela Moore to clear it out for Calgary as they coast towards half-time with a commanding lead over the Halifax Tides, their first ever game in the Northern Super League. Griffith towards the byline. Did she win a corner? I believe she did.
She sure did. Been really active down that right side, and wins herself another corner. That's the number of corners they've had so far in this first half.
Johnson into the 6-yard box. Young Tegan Stewart making her debut.
It was Rolfsum on that corner earlier.
Yeah.
see an outswinger perhaps here.
Stewart will take this. Short corner, changes the angle. Left-footed, flattish delivery. Come back to Griffith, thinking about the shot, took a deflection. Moore is there, and once again, Erin McLeod forced to tip the ball over. Referee's whistle is gone, and another corner to defend for the Tides.
Yeah, so that ball's played short to Rolf Samo, swings it in, changing the angle. As you said, Moore again the target. And McLeod, I mean, while the header I don't think ever really threatened, has to parry it out of danger just to ensure that it's going over the crossbar.
When in doubt, get it out.
Absolutely.
So yet another corner, yet another opportunity for the Wild to extend that lead in the closing seconds of the first half. Griffith will take it. Savitsky looking to make a nuisance of herself. This time McLeod saw it coming all the way from the header. Waving her players away, eventually forced to clear. She's already been penalised once for the play of play. If you're unfamiliar with the new rule, well, we saw it in action. First time I've actually ever seen it in action in a live game.
Same, Nigel.
Yeah. Goalkeeper is allowed to handle the ball, be in control of the ball for a maximum of 8 seconds. And the referee counts down audibly to the goalkeeper. Once the countdown is done, if the ball has not been released, the referee then awards a corner to the attacking team.
Is there also a hand signal? I remember reading about this rule change that when there's 3 seconds remaining, the referee raises a hand. Is that correct?
Your knowledge and experience puts me in a bucket somewhere.
I'm
sure you're
making
right.
it up, Nigel.
I'm sure you're not. But that is the last whistle of the first half. That's much we know. And Calgary Wild are in a commanding position, having scored 3 goals inside the first 25 minutes. The first from Michaela Moore, the second from Megadi Doan Howard, and the third from Carly Johnson of Australia. At half-time, the Wild lead the Tides on their Northern Super League debut by 3-0.
This Northern Super League match is supported by Canadian Tire, proud founding partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the NFL Halftime, brought to you by BMO. Kate McKenna and Amy Walsh with you. And the score after 45, a commanding 3-0 lead for the Calgary Wild. Now, Amy, we're going to get into some of these goals, starting with the second one, because I think a lot of fans might be confused by what transpired there, and that's because there is a new rule. So new, it's March 1st of this year, from the International Football Association board, that goalkeepers can only hold the ball for 8 seconds. Any more than that, then the other team's awarded a corner. And from our vantage point, Erin McLeod held the ball for at least 10 seconds. So, Amy, your thoughts on what transpired here?
First of all, I can't believe this happened to Erin again. I mentioned it on the call, the 2012 Olympics against the U.S. when the 6-second rule, which is the old rule, was called on her, and then the U.S. scored on the ensuing indirect free kick, which was awarded. So on this one, it is called for the 8 seconds. The referee is also supposed to mention or audibly say how much time is left, and then a corner kick is awarded. And I think Calgary smelled blood on these set pieces. And Doherty Howard, we saw it in that initial game in Vancouver, rather. She will shoot from distance. She will try her luck, and it takes a couple of fortuitous deflections here, and it's always going to be out of Erin McLeod's reach. But I can't imagine what she's feeling at this point, where you've already conceded the early goal. You want to be able to keep your team in the match in any way possible, and then you are kind of the architect of your own demise to have the second one go in. She's never going to save that, but it sets up, and she causes it.
And you have to think this will put other goalkeepers in the league on notice, for sure.
I think if you're Beau Duane, this is what you do when she clearly held it for over 8 seconds. So the rule book says something else. Is it going to be held up in the same way? So yes, it's to the letter. She's going to call it that way, going to be a bit of a stickler. But now let's see what happens next. Are the next referees going to do the same thing? As a player, you want consistency. So if this is going to be called, great. But I don't want this to be a one-off and an example made, again, of Erin McLeod.
Well, let's now move to our Intact Insurance move of the half, something that had impact. And listen, you mentioned it, set pieces were working for Calgary. Let's talk about that first goal, 2 minutes in. Michaela Moore, take us through what happened here.
Yeah, Michaela Moore, I think you saw, this is played short. I don't think the Tides are ready for it. That's an incredible ball struck on the half turn by Kaylin Stewart. Again, a substitute comes into this game, changes it. But Michaela Moore, who is the person who hauls down Holly Ward, gives Quinn the chance to win the game for the Rise last week, puts them on the board immediately when they had failed to capitalize, failed to execute in the final third, is the one to score the opening goal for the Calgary Wild.
Now, someone who had a lot of impact, Amy, in that first half was Calgary's Maggie Doherty Howard, and she's standing by with Brianne Foley for our WestJet Pittside Cast.
Maggie, getting that first goal off your back and then you adding a second to really solidify it. How much experience plays into this goal for you guys right now?
Yeah, I think it's a testament to how we started this game. We talked about going in really aggressive on the front foot. There's a lot of pressure for your home opener for Halifax, so we wanted to bring that experience that we had from already playing a game in this league. So I'm really proud of how the team came into this, and we started really strong, settled into the game as the half went along, so hopefully we'll continue that going into the second half.
How do you keep that going into the second half in a cold Halifax stadium with lots of fans against you right now?
I think it's just sticking to our game plan. I think it's been working. We've controlled a lot of the game, so I think it's continuing to ride that out, playing the way we want to, not letting the way they want to play dictate the game, so just continuing what we've been doing.
Amazing. Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Brianne. Well, Brianne tells me that the Chants are still going strong in Halifax despite the score. Lots more to come. Stay with us. This is the NFL on TSN, brought to you by BMO. This Northern Super League match is supported by Toyota, proud founding partner of the NFL.
emotional, wear my heart on my sleeve kind of gal, and I think for me, I'm a pretty emotional, wear my heart on my sleeve kind of gal, and just to have seen the years of wanting this come to fruition and to be able to rock the jersey, step out onto the field, like I've imagined that moment, it's going to be surreal. I'm going to soak it in, maybe a little watery eyes, but I just know how much this country needs it, how much the fans need it, how much the sport needs a professional league, and to see that on opening day come to life is going to be pretty special. I'm just going to soak it all in.
Well, Desi Scott will have the opportunity to rock that jersey and step out on the field tomorrow, because that's when the Ottawa Rapid will make their NSL debut, hosting AFC Toronto at TD Place. Now listen, it's taken so many people, also tomorrow, doubleheader for you. The Vancouver Rise hosts the Montreal Roses. That's at Swangard. Now, what I was about to say was that it's taken so many people to get this league and teams off the ground, and right now Brianne Foley is standing by with the CEO and co-founder of the Halifax Tides, Courtney Sherlock.
Courtney, this has been so much work in the making. How is the moment being here, Wanderers grounds, and seeing these fans and this game today?
Oh, this is just incredible. We're so excited to be here. Thank goodness this day is finally here. We're so happy to be playing our first game.
So much work, so many people went into making sure that Halifax had a women's professional soccer team. How do you continue to build that drive for this team going forward?
We have such an incredible group of people that are working both on the field and off the field. It takes a village, so everybody is totally laser focused on making sure we become a part of the community and put a great product on the pitch.
Hearing the fans tonight, seeing the lineup, seeing the interest, how does that fill your heart, I guess, at this moment?
Oh, I'm so happy. Look, the win for me today is the fact that we're playing this game. This is what we're here for, to create these opportunities for girls. There's hundreds of players of girls here in the stands that can now say, I want to do that when I grow up. This is the win. It's just incredible.
Well, thank you for all your work, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Well, the fans still seem energized because they know there is lots more to come. Nigel and Amy will bring you second half action coming up. This Northern Super League match is supported by Simon, proud fashion partner of the NSL.
A very warm welcome back to the Wanderers grounds in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It is a cool, to put it mildly, windy afternoon. There is nothing to break the warmth of the fans who have packed in to see this first ever Northern Super League game in the Maritimes between the Halifax Tides and the Calgary Wild. The Wild, well, I wouldn't say they went wild in the first half, but they certainly, Amy, took control early and never let go of that grip, did they?
I can't believe you sat on that joke for the whole first half. They just broke it out now. No, they didn't. They had a stranglehold on that match, and they imposed themselves, and they converted, and they executed when they had opportunities, which is what they failed to do in the opening match. So I think if you're Lydia Bedford and you're this team, you're feeling supremely confident as the second half starts.
Change for the Halifax Tides at the start of this second half. They brought on Sarah Taylor from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. She wears 14 and plays in midfield. Just checking for other personnel changes at the start of this second half. The Tides in those officially cyan and purple kits. They look pretty blue to me. Checking the goal to your left in this second half. Trying to redress the balance against the Calgary Wild in those pink and blue kits. Start of this second period at the Wanderers grounds. Scored all those 3 goals inside the first 25 minutes. Rita Thurton trying to thread it down the line. Ball goes out of play. Sarah Griffiths thinks about taking the throw, but she'll wait for Grace Storey to take responsibility. Looking for Thurton again. One is matched by Norcus and behind for a goal kick. I think there's also been a change for the Calgary Wild. I'll confirm that for you in just a moment. Tilly James, who's come on to make her debut, Vancouver native, on to take the place, I believe, of Michaela Moore at the start of this second half. So 1 change per team, maximum of 5 substitutes allowed.
Busy first half for Michaela Moore, where she scores the opening goal. She takes the ball to the face from Kennedy, dislodges a contact, and then cautionary. That'll be all for today. So an important player, stalwart at the back for the Wild and New Zealand international. So Lydia Bedford taking no chances and just taking her out of the game.
So just to confirm that, Tilly James, 26-year-old from Vancouver, takes over from Michaela Moore in the heart of the Wild backline. Everybody else present and correct and ready for another 45 minutes of non-stop action. Possibilities here. As Sid Kennedy was trying to bustle her way through, referee didn't see a foul. 2 people shrugging their shoulders at that decision, or non-decision, I guess, Amy.
I am all for, play being played on, but that to me was a foul all day long. Kennedy's sniffing the ball out there, putting them under pressure, has a player running on the right there, but chooses to call her own number, take her on, cuts to the left, and then just bodied off the ball.
Have another look.
Shoulder to shoulder up to there, I don't know. I think that's a foul, Nigel. You got to be willing to play the ball, and that is shoulder into her, coming from the, coming into the player, not shoulder to shoulder to the side. So I think that's a foul.
They want to try and play their way out from the back. They have the confidence and the ability, their own individual skills. Now the long ball forward, runs all the way through to Erin McLeod. Megan Stewart was farthest forward and giving chase. Sarah Olai, the Swedish centre-back. As the Tides cross cross into enemy territory, looking to get a goal to restore their belief, get the fans going, starting this second half. We've got here, there by the penalty spot, wearing 9, was calling for the ball, it never reached her.
Yeah, an acre of space, just in that D. But, you know, taking your time, and whether that was by design or not, I think at that point, that ball has to be swung in there.
Primo with the throw, French fullback. Manages to block it the first time, then goes to ground. Ball is still alive, no whistle. Play on. There's Marie-Soleil-Baudouin. Finally, the ball is out of play and offside. This is the call.
I don't mind Primo there as the willingness to take on, to be aggressive, to take the player, but slows the ball down or slows the play down completely, whereas they need an uptick in urgency here. They have 45 minutes to try to get back into this match. I think the Wild have dominated it thoroughly. They need a goal early on here to say, hey, we're still here, we're not going away, we're going to be a thorn in your side. And that, from that 1v1 clash earlier from Primo, need a little bit more initiative shown and perhaps a wrong decision.
He went to ground. James with the touch. Cleared out by Vukovic towards Ali Green, but she can't keep it in play. Primo quickly with the throw, trying to send Miller away on that far side. They want a corner, and they're going to get one. 5 minutes gone in the second half. It's all about the Wild in that first half an hour. Now it's up for Halifax Tides to try and respond. Plenty of time. And if they could get one from a set piece like this, it might just be a momentum changer.
Absolutely, Nigel. Numbers in the box, Cass Vukovic.
Kennedy to deliver, left-footed. Decent cross. It's come off the underside of the crossbar, and in it goes. And they have got the goal. Right on cue. The Tides have turned in Halifax. Halifax have their goal. There's a long way to go. But now it's just a 2-goal deficit. Halifax 1, Calgary 3.
We saw that early on in this game, Nigel, and Halifax were unable to really get those movement patterns sorted out, but they were able to consistently win some corners and to test Vukovic. So they put her under pressure there. Sorty heads it, goes off the underside of the bar, and then I believe that's Gay, who's just there to slot it home. Doesn't have a whole lot to do, but that's exactly what you needed for the Halifax Tides. So haven't really seen the movement patterns, the way that they want to attack, and who's going to take it upon them to really dictate for them in their attacking patterns. But they didn't need to do it there. The enough was to win the corner, put some pressure on Vukovic, and then Gay did the rest.
It was a terrific curling free kick, and Marika Gay just loitering with intent on the back post, but it came cannoning back off the base of the crossbar. She was there to turn it in left-footed and really get the crowd going. First ever goal for the Halifax Tides, the 25-year-old from Chateauguay. Now they've got a corner of their own to defend at the other end of the field. Griffith will take it. Wherein McLeod comes and punches. Cleared away, but only as far as Griffith again. Different angle this time. McLeod comes and gathers confidently and clears out in a hurry. Fortunately, it was a little too early for her forwards to keep pace with the ball as it sailed upfield.
I think Taylor, who's come in for a Duro to lead the line for the Tides, was occupied or otherwise occupied in her defensive role on that set piece, so wasn't there as a target and didn't have numbers going forward. But you clear your own third, you're able to get reset, sit back in your structure, get organized, and then hopefully able to muster something else on the attack. That's exactly what was required for the Halifax Tides. Got to be what Lewis Page was saying to the players in the locker room. A little bit of change, some fresh legs, a fresh outlook. And listen, just to say we're in this game. The scoreline doesn't really say so, but there's 45 minutes to prove our opponents and everybody here otherwise.
Meanwhile, the Wild, the attack again on the edge of the area. Well defended initially. Story turning. Manages to hold on to possession. Vukovic. Spreads it for Green on that far side.
Excuse me, Nigel. You have to think too with the substitution for more. Obviously, if you're Bedford, you're just playing your odds there. You don't want to take any risks. But you pull an experienced, seasoned player out of your back line. That's worked really well. That's been able to thwart attacks from Vancouver and now today from Halifax, even though these are few and far between. That changes the dynamic back there. You're asking a little bit more from Rolfsema, you're asking a little bit more from Vukovic to organize that back line, and maybe there's a little bit more to sniff out if you're the Halifax Tides going forward. So they have to, I think, get Taylor a little bit higher. You have to fly Kennedy. We saw her have success in that left channel in the first half, and they have to put them under pressure.
Maggie Doherty-Howard will take another free kick, loaded into the danger area. Again, it's long towards the back post. Picked up by Johnson, goal scorer in the first half. So Kennedy went with her and did her job.
It's a good battle here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the whistle is for the foul or if it runs out of play and it's for a goal kick. But if the other foul going the other way with Kennedy looking to go 1v1 in on Vukovic, that isn't called as a foul. I don't think that one should be called as a foul either. So I talked about it at halftime. If you're going to be calling that 8-second rule on the goalkeepers, be consistent so the players know what to expect.
Doherty-Howard starts another attack. Johnson onto it again quickly, edge of the area. Howard again looking for a teammate in the area, cleared out for the time being. Level with the edge of the penalty area. Will be a throw on that far side. Green, the Australian-born New Zealander. Finds her captain, turns quickly. Savitsky was available. Ignored on this occasion. Griffiths takes it on. And wins the corner on that far side.
That's just great heady play by Maggie Doherty-Howard. They're just a Turner player. Take a run, get into space, get by her, and then try to slip Griffith through, and then another corner kick for their work.
5 to aim for in the penalty area for the time being. Doherty now meanders her way into the 18-yard box.
We saw this one last week, Nigel, so look for this one by Doherty-Howard to land just on the penalty spot.
Captain delivers. Helps away out of the immediate danger zone. Plenty of time for Rolfsema to make up her mind what she wants to do.
Some intricate set pieces so far from Calgary. Quite impressive.
Story with the throw. On the line it goes. Savitsky giving chase, making a nuisance of herself. Finds its way back to Story, swings it into the area this time. That's dangerous on the edge of the area. Got a little bit lucky. Again, back all the way to Story. Rolfsema to start another attack for the Wild. Play down whatever enthusiasm and new momentum that goal for the Tides might have given them. Ball stayed in play. Stewart was after it like a hare.
Yeah, never gave up on a great ball by Storty and tried to just cut it back and get by her defender on the byline. Shepherded out of danger by the defender, but good kind of plucky play by Stewart.
Chance again here. Unfortunately, never really connected with the shot he would like to have done. It's a little bit aimless. The present for Johnson. Easing the fullback. Johnson left-footed. Off the face of goal. Headed out from the 6-yard box. Savitsky picks it up. As the Wild threaten a fall. That's a little short. And quickly in was Sherman Miller. Nakamura couldn't control it. Had she been able to, she might have been off to the races there.
You're seeing a Halifax Tide team, that's organized defensively. I think they've resolved some of those issues with the midfield, especially if they had success going forward. Their spacing is better between their team parts, but they haven't really been able to connect with the front line.
Turned over to John Scott here. Now Miller. Didn't take the ball with her. Green clears down the touchline. And a throw is the result in favour of the visitors.
Really well done by Green, who has quietly had herself quite a good game for the Calgary Wild. Been reliable, been steady, consistent in linking up with her teammates and getting them out of danger when it's required.
Combining there with Savitsky. There's another throw on that far side. I wonder, what might have been said. It's a little late in the day to talk about it now, but we had all that flurry of activity at the start of the second half. I wonder what Lewis Page, the Tide's coach, might have said to his team at half-time when they were 3-0 down. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it wasn't necessarily a pleasant conversation, but at the same time, he doesn't want to destroy their confidence, right?
No, well, he did say on the call with them that he doesn't usually do the yelling. That's her players that will step up and do that for him. So I think they probably realized themselves that was not their best 45 minutes of football. And at that point, as a coach, I think you say, let's reset in the locker room, catch your breath, we're going to make a substitution, and a clean slate, as it were. The scoreline will still say 3-0, but now we have 45 minutes to go out and put our stamp on this thing.
Second substitution for the Tides, the introduction of Daphne Blouin, 26-year-old midfielder from Quebec City, takes over in midfield from Megumi Nakamura.
Halifax Tide fans, substitution for the Halifax Tide in the 62nd
Green picks it up on that
minute.
far side, a little isolated, safety first.
You're away there, Nigel. You've just come into this game, and you're desperate to change things for the positive for your team. And what you can always bring is some energy. And Blouin there is just walked around by Rolstema. If you're going to lead the line, you're going to get that trigger on the press, then you have to go in a controlled manner. You can't just let somebody walk around you. So a reset necessary again here for Blouin and the way that they're deploying that higher press. They want to be effective.
Miller in quickly. Hers was not the final touch. Story with the throw down the line. Looking again for the dangerous Griffith. Behind for a corner off Norcus.
Yeah, well-timed tackle. Does enough there to prevent that ball from being crossed across the face of goal, but give up another corner kick.
That's where we stand. Is just under half an hour to play, although I suppose when you add the injury time, stoppage time, call it what you will, we will actually play another 30 minutes or so. Still a vibrant atmosphere inside the Wanderers' grounds. Ball must be inside the quadrant or on the line. Delivered left-footed, away is the cry, and they do get it away. But not very far, plenty still forward for the Wild, and they take advantage. Johnson giving chase on that left flank. Scored in the first half, she'd love another one. McLeod's coming a little loose. Primo prepares to take the throw. Looking for her captain, but didn't reach her. Tap on the ankle. I think it might be a free kick. It is.
As it should be.
So Doherty Howard from Largo, Florida. I'm sure she's used to warmer conditions than these. Maybe that's why she's wearing gloves. Across the face of goal, more danger. Looking to turn is Griffith. Sticking to her guns. Norcus.
Doing well there, not to let her get by.
I think the Tides need to see her further up the field, as she was to some effect in the first half.
Yes, the couple of cases that they were able to spring her and get in behind, once by Young's daughter and then the other time by Nakamura, was where they were at the most threatening. Save on some set pieces and some offensive corner kicks.
The referee was trying to play the advantage there. In the end, had to bring it back for the foul, and it will be a free kick, maybe 7 or 8 yards outside the penalty area, into the Wild. Here was the collision initially.
Yeah, Primo comes in, and then as that ball pitches, you see Johnson just get the body position on her, gives her a little bit of a Charlie horse.
He's probably going to pace off this 10 yards. 4 in the wall. 10 yards. In old money anyway. There is the line from which they must defend. Looks like Doherty Howard is interested again. Erin McLeod needs to get her wall set. Doherty Howard chips it over the wall this time. And then a foul inside the area by the Wild, and the pressure passes for the time being.
That was always going to be really tough to execute for Doherty Howard. I think credit her for trying it, and why not? Because they have had success on set pieces today. But she's going to have to thread the needle there. But good pressure here by Griffith.
Dropped again, and now Thurton might be in behind. Thurton teasing the defenders, and then it's Griffith with the shot. And finally behind, and more nervy moments inside the Tides penalty area.
Well, last week was a week of first, and today is the first home match and first match in the Northern Super League for the Halifax Tides. And you've seen them look disjointed and a little bit uncertain and hesitant, and they haven't really been able to connect, whether they're in the defensive phase and knitted together or offensively.
Rolfsema left-footed into the area, and Cloud had to be brave, came through traffic, collided with Thurton, and both of them remain on the deck for the time being. Will be a free kick to the home team, but Erin McLeod had to do what was necessary, got the ball, and maybe a little bit of Sarita Thurton as well.
Yeah, I think got her in the temple or the cheekbone just after she parried the ball, punched it away, cleared the area of danger. Then lots of bodies in and around Erin McLeod there of her own team, but also Calgary Wild, and then a coming together there with she and Thurton.
And a little worryingly, Erin McLeod remains on the deck for the time being, as Lewis Page looks on. And a conversation between McLeod and the medical staff. Here's that incident again. Ball was there to be won. Erin McLeod, a little bit of the meat in the sandwich there.
Able to punch it away successfully, but absolutely right. Body's kind of clattering through her as she got her strong paw to it, which she needed to do. She's up to the task. But then I think it was, doesn't really see it come in, and maybe it's a little bit of a neck issue. It's hard to imagine, but taking your time there and You have Pope, who's on the bench and available for the Halifax Tide, but a thinner bench on the Halifax side, Nigel, than compared to the Wild.
Well, one thing I didn't realise, as the cheers ring around the Wanderers grounds, an acknowledgement of the fact that Erin McLeod is back on her feet and ready to continue, is something that Lydia Bedford told us about the other day. The matchday squad can be 20, so 11 on the field and potentially 9 on the bench, of which you can choose 5 substitutes in the NSL. And there is no doubt that Lydia Bedford has filled her bench.
Which is interesting as a traveling side,
Yep.
that you would choose to do that. But Robertson, who Book's looking to check into the match here for the Wild. But Robertson, who came in at halftime of that inaugural contest against the Rise, made a big difference for the Wild and was not even a feature today for the Calgary Wild. So more depth perhaps for Bedford than for Lewis Page.
Over the top it goes, helped on, but unfortunately out of play. 20 minutes to go as we wait for the introduction of Kaylee Brooks, the Calgary native, who replaces Sarita Thurton.
Brooks, who has the versatility where she can be swapped like for like, if that is how Bedford wants to continue to deploy her more as an attacking player, more as an out-and-out winger, but she can also drop in to a wing-back or a full-back position.
Maddie Wickers with the long free kick forward, deflected behind for a corner to the home team. And the captain will take responsibility. Jon Skottier, vast experience all over Europe, more than 100 caps for her native Iceland. Looking to turn the tides, excuse the pun, in favour of Halifax. Couldn't resist that one. Here's the corner kick towards the back post. Up go the heads. Needs to be cleared. Not yet. In the end, the attempt from Callie Johnson, I beg your pardon, from Daphne Blouin, straight into the arms of Stephanie Vukovic.
They've looked dangerous again. In the run of play, I think opportunities have been really tough to come by for the Halifax Tide, but they've been threatening on these set pieces, so continue to do that. Try to work the ball, try to connect, try to have the ball in more dangerous areas of the pitch to try to win yourself those types of opportunities again, because that is your way back into the game if you're the Halifax Tide.
Home fans, and there are many thousands here. Capacity at the Wanderers ground is 5,000 to 6,000, and there are not too many seats to be had. Vast majority of them hoping the Tides can complete the comeback. The goal in the next 5 minutes wouldn't do any harm.
And the fans would absolutely love that. And by the way, Nigel, never excuse a pun. Puns are always welcome.
Here come the Tides again, just too far ahead of Sarah Miller. And out of play for a throw to the visitors. Green with the throw. Got the ball at their feet, which is where they want it. Sid Kennedy. Kennedy, edge of the area, lays it off, and it's always rolling wide from Addie Wickers, but she had the confidence to take on the shot.
That's the thing, we talked about the opportunities. They haven't really been able to set up at all in the attacking third. We haven't seen any movement patterns. We haven't seen them take chances and threaten and really test Vukovic or the back line, really, when they've been kind of set up there. So I like that by Wickers.
Meanwhile, at the other end, an offside flag will prevent Further movement in an advantageous position from Callie Johnson. Tides keen to get on with it, as you would expect. More changes on the way for the Halifax Tides. We're going to see the introduction of Karima Lemire.
For Halifax Tides in 75th minute.
The goal scorer, Marika Gay,
Leading is number 4.
takes a seat on the bench. Kai Norcus is also withdrawn. Lemire from Montreal, play in defence or in midfield. But the Tides need bodies going forward with intent and creativity. He's just going to stop this for a moment. Just a bit of an issue with one of the Calgary Wild players. By it for you in a moment.
Also in the 75th minute, entering is number 8, Karima Lemire, leaving number 13, Kylie Norcus.
But the substitution, Lemire in for Norcus, I think it gives the Tides a little bit more versatility going forward. You have that in the game for Lemire. You mentioned can play in a fullback position, can move more into central areas. She's really comfortable, highly technical with the ball at her foot. Went to the same CEGEP, Champlain St. Lambert. So shout out to anybody in Quebec who went there. But there's a high proponent, or high percentage rather, of Quebecers on this Halifax Tides team. So lots of opportunities for Canadians, and somebody like Lemire who has had to ply her trade overseas and can come back and play in the Northern Super League. But this might give them a little bit more options and make them a little bit more threatening going forward.
So Ali Green getting some running repairs. She's been up and down that flank non-stop all day. Looks like the problem will be okay. Just testing out that left foreleg, make sure she can continue. But while she's off the field, the Wild temporarily down to 10. Tides try and take advantage. Lipinski is first to react. First touch for Lemire. Green returns. We're back to 11v11. And Fermo is frustrated and penalised again for the challenge on Storey.
Great Storey has had an excellent game. Thought about it, just laid her studs just on Fremo's thigh, but just sort of positions it there, almost a caress, not a lashing out. But yeah, I think you're seeing a little bit of frustration from Fremo, who was maybe hoping for a fortuitous glance off of Storey and out for another offensive corner kick.
Wickers, lie. Forward for the captain. He's got here. Looking to turn Miller. Couldn't take the ball with her. And a chance once again for the Wild to mount a counter-attack. A little untidy.
Big say?
I do say. Certainly, Dorothy Howard felt that. But she won't care if she ends up on the winning team with 3 points to take back to Alberta. Ali Green may have felt more than we thought, and she is going to be replaced left back by Madison Wilson on for her NSL debut.
Calgary Wild fan substitution for Calgary Wild.
Wilson wears 14, 24-year-old from London, Ontario, my neck of the woods.
Leaving number 3,
A little further down the 401 from me in Kitchener, but 45-minute drive from my doorstep anyway.
Crowd likes that call a little bit better.
Approaching the final 10 minutes, first stoppage time. Tides need another goal, and then we'd have a grandstand finish. Maybe this is the moment. Played down the line. The captain, shot here. Didn't beat the first defender. They will, I believe, get at least a throw.
On the 79th minute
Tremble
of
caught
play,
late there by Johnson, just as that ball trickled out, signaled in the touch. I don't believe the referee saw it. Cremo's just content. I'm not sure about that, Nigel.
Referee doesn't get a second look as we do. It's worth pointing out. Referee can only give what she sees, with or without the help of her assistants on either side of the field.
I don't know if she needed a second look there. It was a good time to look away because I think that was some embellishment by Cremo looking for an offensive free kick instead of a throw.
Wild still in control, a 2-goal advantage as we approach the final 10. The Wanderers grounds in 3 of the Northern Super League. If they could add another now, they'd probably put the game to bed. This is trying to turn.
Doherty Howard looking to open the game up a little bit, sprays that ball wide. Lemire wins it clearly, but then right into the path of the on-rushing Wilson for the Calgary Wild.
Play on that far side from Multimer. Go out now to short. Will be another Calgary throw. Now, from a professional point of view, they've got themselves a 2-goal cushion. Talk about managing this game out in a professional manner as far as Calgary are concerned.
Well, I think you saw the beginnings of it with their intent and how to manage the game and to control the game state with that substitution of Books in for certain. That was Lydia Bedford showing her hand there a little bit to say we have a player who can sit a little bit deep if necessary and thwart any attacks. But it does have to be said that the way that the Wild have dictated the match, it almost isn't necessary because there hasn't been any attacking fluency shown by the Halifax Tide. They haven't put their foot on the ball and really threatened other than on set pieces, but in the run of play, they've been devoid of solutions in the attacking third. So from a game management perspective, keep doing what you're doing. Fresh legs as needed. You've seen that with Green checking out, Wilson checking in. So you have a deeper bench, you're using it, you brought 20, you've dressed 20, you have your 5 subs, and I think you're going to see Lydia Bedford maximize her bench.
Stewart still full of running. Lemire, path forward is blocked, again by Tegan Stewart. Well, penny for your thoughts, Lewis.
Make a gift out of that one.
Oh, talking of gifts, possibilities here. This could be the fourth. It is the fourth. 8 minutes to go. McLeod is beaten again. And the Wild have sealed the deal at the Wanderers' grounds. It was a mess defensively by the Tide, and the Wild made them pay. They lead by 4 goals to 1.
And I was talking about gifts with the expressions there, dejected Lewis Page on the touchline, but it translated, as you said, Nigel, into a gift for the Calgary Wild. So I believe that will be Johnson with the brace on the day. And Olai would want to have that one back because they were in full control. You had the pressure, but there was no need. It was a little bit of an untidy touch, but directly into the path of Johnson, and McLeod could do nothing but watch that ball roll into the back of her net.
The brace for Carly Johnson, the Australian striker, who probably couldn't believe her luck, but finished it very calmly, albeit into an empty net. And the Wild restore their 3-goal lead in the closing stages.
So you can chalk up some of these goals out of the 4 that the Tides have conceded to mistakes, to nerves, as you saw at BMO Field with that giveaway in the first minute of the game for Boychuk to score the historic first ever goal for the Montreal Roses. But I think you've seen more than that questions were asked of this Halifax Tide defense, and in particular the back line, and they failed to answer them. So credit to the Wild for putting them under pressure, for executing when they were given those opportunities, but it's back to the drawing board for Lewis Page and the Halifax Tide.
Final substitutions, we're going to see the departure of Sarah Griffiths and Maggie Doherty-Howard, my information, and the introduction of Sonia O'Neill, a dual citizen of Canada and a Venezuelan international, and Christy Gray, who was a half-time substitute against Vancouver last time out, Vancouver native.
And for Sonia, started that match last week at BC Place and was not one of her best performances. Made way at halftime. Two of those changes that I alluded to earlier in Robertson and Thurton almost effectively turned the tide, pun fully intended, but for the Wild, where they looked to get themselves back into the game and looked livelier and posed a threat at least for the Rise. But today, even though she has limited time to do it, will want to change the mind of her coach.
Kennedy still full of running, but running into too many opposition defenders. Down the line it goes again. First chase for Christy Gray. Still chasing Gray, well she would, she's got fresh legs of course. She wants to make her impact as a late replacement. And then the foul given away by Kaylee Brooks. 5 minutes to go. And the jig is probably up for the Halifax Tides.
Leaving number 28, Maggie Doherty-Howard.
But they want to go down fighting. Probably no way they can get back into this contest, but they want to be able to leave the pitch with their pride intact and their heads held high. And maybe a second goal. Possibilities, just wide in the end. Really good free kick. And Primo almost got on the end of it. They're suffering a little bit of cramp. Another look.
A great ball, in-swinging ball that drops just and the penalty spot, but just not the right body shape. I believe that's by Taylor. If she gets that right, she gets her approach to the ball correct, Nigel. That's just a pass in the back of the net, but just doesn't get that right at all. It is a shame because the ball that was driven in there by Karima Lemire was put on a platter for her.
Kennedy still battling. O'Neill first touch and then forward. McLeod well off her line, anticipated the danger, points it out of play. Are we going to see more changes? For the end of the game, Lydia Bedford played her hand. There's going to be a stoppage for Mo, suffering perhaps with a little bit of cramp in these closing minutes. Lewis Page, a native of Chester, Nova Scotia, has spent close to 30 years on Prince Edward Island, coaching both the men's and the women's teams at UPEI.
And I've crossed paths with Lewis in the mid-2000s, coming into the women's national team program when Evan Pellerid was the head coach, and he would come in as assistant coach occasionally. Yeah, a great man who cares about the development of soccer in Atlantic Canada, and you know that the fans here on site care desperately about their Wanderers and also about their Halifax Tide. So a great, vibrant community here on hand, making noise still for their team, even though they trail by 3 goals.
And isn't it good to see that no one's leaving early?
Okay, Tide fans, get up your
despite the fact that this game has been beyond the Tides for the majority of the game. Started as early as the 3rd minute.
I think your East Coast fans are cut from a different cloth,
I think you're absolutely right.
C2407.
They want a 5th. They're not going to get one at the moment. But this is looking like a comprehensive victory for the Wilds. Shot is well wide and over the bar of Erin McLeod, whom it has not been the happiest debut.
No, it's been a tougher day for Erin, and you talked about the bags of experience she has and what an incredible pioneer she's been for the game in this country. An icon almost, I think, almost transcends the sport, and this is a really meaningful day for her. so you know it will hurt that they come up on the wrong end of it. But it's just the beginning, as Erin said in her pre-match comments. Now this is a starting point. They will build, they will grow, they will improve.
Into the final minute of the 90th. Tides attacking and repelled again by a resolute Wild. And Valerie Seto is ready to come in place of Eva Frimo. Wickers looking around, still full of energy, and there is the substitution. And Frimo departs and replaced by Montreal midfielder and Valerie Seto.
Halifax Tide fan substitution for the Halifax Tides in the 90th minute. Entering is number 21 and Valerie Seto, leaving number 28.
Quite controlled it. Luan almost turned a defender, but the ball just ran away from her at the crucial moment.
Similar to what we saw from the Calgary Wild in that first half, but I would even say it's a fair assessment of their first 90 in the Northern Super League last week, that they were disjointed. There was, the timing didn't quite come off. They looked threatening in the attacking transition, and today the Tide, a similar thing, where there's been some mistakes, but there's been a lack of understanding, I think, between the team parts and players.
Miller in hard, but fairly.
And fans, the fourth official has indicated
all the way through Sarah Olai to the waiting arms of Stephanie Bukovic. A minimum of 5 additional minutes. So there is still time for more goals at either end of the field, I suppose. Wilson lets it run, scampers after it. Seto first up for the substitute. Wilson goes down. Beg your pardon, Sarah Taylor. Taylor ready to take the free kick. Combining with Ulai. McLeod lets it run to her. Taylor forced to react quickly. But they're on the back foot again, the Tides. It's a clumsy challenge.
And a really clever touch, it should be said as well, by Callie Johnson, just to cut it across the body, force the defender into fouling, tries to thread it in between those two Tides players, and then win themselves another free kick.
Well, Johnson, don't forget, is on a hat-trick here, so she wants to stay on the field and get a third if she can. A little bit of personal glory, but I'm sure she'd trade that as long as the Wild hang on for the 3 points. Their opening win, having gone from West Coast in Vancouver to East Coast in Halifax. And their next match is also away from home, by the way. They next go to AFC Toronto on Thursday, May the 1st. So 3 games on the road for the Wild before they finally get their home opener.
I believe it's on Mother's Day.
You're absolutely right, it is on Mother's Day. Ultima in no great hurry, as you might expect. Volleys it into the area. Optimistic, to put it mildly. Got a few more seconds taken off the clock. Neal. Gordy. Bukovic, anywhere will do now, as far as the Wild are concerned. They've used up 3 of the additional 5 minutes, and they're in no mood to see the ball anywhere near their penalty area in the remaining time.
Creighton needs to recognize there that she's got numbers behind her. They're 2v1 in that space, and maybe a hauler from her teammate just to say turn. And another player down for the Wild.
He votes, and I believe it's Callie Johnson on her haunches there, just inquiring of the referee if she's okay. Maybe another 90 seconds or so to play. As Brooks made her way forward. Johnson's back on her feet. Ultima with the free kick rolls it back to Bukovic. Long clearance. Good skills. Sonia O'Neill. Bundling their way towards the penalty area. Olai wasn't taking any chances. Bukovic starts to show her footballing skills. We talked about what a freestyler she is in the first half. I think when you're leading by three goals with 30 seconds to play, I guess that's legit.
You'll take it, you're fine with it. But the interesting thing about Bukovic is she's just as inclined to do that in the opening minute as she is to do it in stoppage time.
Marie-Soleil Baudouin blows her final whistle. It's a wild win in the Maritimes. 3 goals before half-time from Moore and Johnson and Doherty Howard. Johnson added a second late. Monica Gay scored the first ever goal in NSL history for the Halifax Tide, but it was ultimately no more than a consolation. And the Wild are worthy winners by 4 goals to 1.
I think you saw from the Calgary Wild today that they just kept going from what they established in that second half of that opening contest against the Rise, and any opportunities they got, they were clinical with them, put them away. So a really dominant performance in the opening 45 and a professional performance to close it out in the second half.
Nerves certainly played a part as far as the Tides were concerned, but they gave their all, and from time to time they got the home fans on their foot, no more so than that goal which reduced the arrears to 2 at the start of the second half. But it is Calgary's day in the Maritimes. A brace from Carly Johnson has led the Calgary White to their first win in NSL history, beating the Halifax Tides by 4 goals to 1.